I belong on the big stage. I belong as a champion. I belong amongst the names of this current generation, and you'll see why. You know, if I didn't fight the best, I may not have lost.
Right, if you're fit,
and
you're confident, and you've got a clear mind, and you focus on your training and you focus on your boxing, anything else in the world doesn't matter when you're in training camp for a fight.
And it's
but
nice.
not a lot of people can have that attitude.
Hey Ringsiders, what is going on? This is your host, Boxing's Objective Observer, and welcome back to Ringside Stories. Or if you're new, we make content regarding boxing through mini documentaries, backstories, takeaways, and much more. So if you enjoy that type of content, feel free to subscribe, thumbs up, and hit that notification bell for the latest here on Ringside Stories. Thank you so much for your support in advance, and welcome to the channel. Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua are two elite-level fighters in the current heavyweight division. Fury is still undefeated, won 3, arguably 4 significant fights, winning all of the world heavyweight titles, albeit on separate occasions. Whilst Anthony Joshua has taken on all comers during his reign as unified WBA, IBF, WBO world champion, taking on legit top 10 contenders consistently since 2016, having defended his titles against 4 mandatory challengers. However, when it comes to their boxing minds, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury work quite differently, and today we will discuss the differences between these two formidable heavyweights. Now, this is not a fight breakdown of a Fury-AJ fight. This is a breakdown on the psychological and mental approach that both AJ and the Gypsy King bring to the table. Let's get into it. Number 1. Confidence. Both Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua are confident fighters. They're just different personalities, and so they express their confidence in different ways. Let's take the build-up of a common opponent as an example, Dr. Steelhammer, aka Vladimir Klitschko. Up first, the Gypsy King, aka Tyson Fury.
You ain't gonna beat me.
I honestly think
Definitely not.
This fight you're taking too early.
He's a massive jump up from the level of opponents you've boxed so far.
I wouldn't say so, no. He's a man with a pair of boxing gloves on. They all want to win. They've all got confidence. And they all say a lot. They all talk a good game. Just like his opponents in the past.
It's a personal mission for me to rid boxing of a boring person like you. I've just been falling asleep listening to your stupid speech.
Oh, you hate the old man?
Yeah, no, I don't hate old men, but listen when being spoken to.
But 10 years on, still unbeaten.
Don't worry about that. I'm finishing my conversation. Them guys who you fought in the past, they talked a lot. They had a lot to say, but they didn't have the inner belief in the mind, in the heart, in the body. Name me one of your opponents that I couldn't beat.
During Klitschko versus Fury, Vladimir was reluctant to throw any punches, much less engage in a fight with Tyson Fury, and surely that had to do with the pre-fight antics, as much as Tyson Fury's confidence in his boxing ability. Now compare that to Anthony Joshua's build-up versus Vladimir Klitschko.
I'm looking forward to competing again, and even though it's such an amazing event, I always try to strip everything back down to reality and what it really is, and just focus on it's just me and a man coming to blows, and the best man will win.
Joshua versus Klitschko turned out to be a modern-day heavyweight classic in which Anthony Joshua got baptized against the long-reigning Ukrainian world champion. With the exceptions of a few opponents, Dillian White and Jarrell Miller, a fight that never came to fruition, AJ shows restraint and is more of a quiet confidence type who unleashes fully on fight night. Keep in mind, Joshua came into boxing fairly late, had a relatively short yet successful amateur career, beating many top-level amateurs, being a runner-up in the 2011 Amateur Super Heavyweight World Championships, and taking Olympic gold at the 2012 London Olympics. Then in the pros, becoming a world champion in just 16 fights. So both Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua are confident. They just express their confidence differently as they have polar opposite personality types. Now, at the making of this episode, Anthony Joshua has 2 losses on his record, having lost recently to Oleksandr Usyk in front of 60,000 plus people. So AJ's confidence is surely not what it used to be. Whereas Tyson Fury knocked out Deontay Wilder in the Wilder trilogy, which was a high-profile fight on foreign soil. And so the Gypsy King still can tap into his confidence of being an undefeated world champion. Number 2, approach to boxing and training. Now this is where we can see a clear difference. Tyson Fury is an intuitive fighter, meaning he will be able to adjust according to the circumstances on top of being a technically sound boxer with abilities that would make any small fighter jealous, being gifted with certain attributes, standing at 6'9". Tyson Fury knows his skill set, has successfully implemented that skill set throughout his professional career so far, and so isn't bothered about issues from the outside. That's why in many interviews, Team Fury as well as Tyson himself seem to be clear and level-headed in their approach.
Well, I wouldn't prepare any different. Maybe I'd be a bit lighter because of the speed factor, but I wouldn't have done anything easier or harder. It's like people always say, oh, you're fighting this person, you got to train extra hard for him. But that's nonsense. You can only train a certain amount of stuff. And as long as I'm injury free, basically all you have to do is wind me up and watch me go. That's it. I am a low maintenance man.
We'd come to this fight, we'd worked so strict on the game plan. I believed in the game plan. I knew it was the right approach to have, so we all worked on it together. And Tyson was on board as well.
Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, has a different approach. Here's a clip from a recent interview with Sky Sports.
Let's focus on quality, you know what I'm saying? Let's focus on what's needed. And it has to come from the top down. I'm the last piece of the puzzle, I'm the last performance. So we're talking about game planning, mindset, brain training, you know, sparring, our approach to sparring, what we're getting out of it. All of these things, dietary needs, sleep, recovery, mindset training in terms of what I'm listening to, not just musically, like motivational speeches and stuff like that, because this is the biggest stage of my career, fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world.
That again shows a difference in personality between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. It also shows that Joshua is looking for growth on more areas, even outside of the technicalities of boxing, whereas Tyson Fury's approach seemed to be more about keeping it close to himself, knowing what to do. I respect and am fascinated by both approaches. So far, Tyson Fury has proven to be more consistent, whereas Anthony Joshua has been in against more higher quality opposition on a consistent basis, which might explain why Joshua chooses to search for improvement outside of boxing. However, when it comes to making the proper adjustments, i.e. making necessary changes that yield success, you're talking fight preparation, more specifically your training outfit. When asked about this matter in an IFL TV interview after the loss he suffered against Oleksandr Usyk, Anthony Joshua said,
Rob McCracken, Paul Walmsley, Dave Alloway, Rich, that's the setup. I've worked with Finchley and GB Boxing. They're the two setups I've worked with. So what I learned, I said, Rob, look, I've got to go out there and I've got to find a new coach to work with and learn from as well. That's why I work with Angel. That's why I work with Joby. Yeah, Rob can be head gaffer, head coach, which I always respect him for. Sean as well. I speak to Sean. He's one of my head guys in my team. He gives me a lot of advice. John Oliver as well is my head guy.
So AJ admitted he has many head guys that are in his camp, whereas Tyson Fury just has one head trainer who he saw fit for the job to prepare him for the Wilder rematch onwards.
He said, you'll be the main coach, you know, taking care of everything, you'll control everything.
I believe he's going to bring the best out of me. Steel, sharpen steel. Everything that he teaches, that Kronk style, that will work well for me.
Which brings us to number 3, making proper adjustments. So far, you've seen the difference in confidence and the difference in approach to boxing. However, in my opinion, the biggest difference between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua on the psychological level by far is making proper adjustments. Tyson Fury has proven to be an intuitive fighter, which he proved inside the ring against Steve Cunningham, who, though smaller, proved to be too quick for the then 20-something-year-old Tyson Fury. Not having his trainer in his corner, even after being dropped, Tyson intuitively knew he had to adjust his tactics from boxing on the outside to fighting up close and fighting a big man fight, enforcing his weight and strength. Also, Tyson Fury adjusted his approach for the Deontay Wilder rematch when he hired Javon Sugar Hill to prepare him for Wilder Fury 2.
I want him to meet me dead in the centre of the ring. Let's have a slugfest. Best man stands up, loser goes down.
An approach most people following boxing labeled a suicide mission. Well, clearly Tyson Fury was not playing around and took everyone by surprise, including his opponent, the bronze bomber Deontay Wilder. Au contraire, Anthony Joshua has failed to make proper adjustments in some moments of his career so far. In his first fight against Andy Ruiz Jr., Anthony attempted to fight fire with fire against the guy with arguably the fastest hands in the current heavyweight division. The then unified world heavyweight champion was unable to switch tactics, got outpunched before getting stopped in round 7. AJ kept his same training outfit, which came to haunt him in his latest fight against the highly astute world-level amateur and former undisputed cruiserweight world champion Oleksandr Usyk. Usyk took rounds 9 to 12 and was on the brink of stopping AJ on several occasions. Whether that was because Usyk is just that good or Joshua wasn't up to par on that night, Anthony Joshua was unable to make the proper adjustments to keep his belt, ending up with another loss. Now, this doesn't mean Tyson Fury would have beaten Oleksandr Usyk on that same night. This doesn't mean Tyson Fury beats Anthony Joshua, because styles make fights, and even at this point in time, I personally believe Fury versus Joshua is a lot closer of a fight than many people make it out to be. What is clear, however, A, Tyson Fury's approach has given more consistent success for the Gypsy King, and as a result, as of today's episode at least, Tyson Fury is still an undefeated reigning heavyweight world champion. B, Anthony Joshua has been in against more proven legit top 10 opposition on a more consistent basis ever since becoming a world champion in 2016. Yet C, and this is no disrespect to the man, Anthony Joshua seems to be in search for improvements, taking the more cerebral approach, which has had his ups and downs so far. Whereas Tyson Fury has proven to be more clear-minded on who he is as a fighter, what he wants, and what he needs to accomplish his goals. Hopefully 2022 will give us boxing fans the ultimate consolidation, crowning the first undisputed heavyweight champion of the world since first ballot Hall of Famer Lennox Lewis on November 13 of 1999. And if the fight happens for undisputed, we'll see whether that fight will include one of Lewis' countrymen. Maybe it will be between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, which would be a historically unique fight. However, that is a big if, since Anthony Joshua has to first overcome a formidable obstacle, i.e. the rematch with Oleksandr Usyk. Similarly, it is a question whether Tyson Fury can even hold on to his WBC World Heavyweight title, as Team Fury is still sorting out Tyson Fury's next fight. Anyways, these are my thoughts. What are yours? Let us know what you think about the difference in psychology between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua so far. If you enjoyed this type of content and you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell. It helps out the channel a lot, i.e. inspire us to make more quality content for y'all. As always, thank you so much for your support in advance, and welcome to Ringside Stories. If you've done that already, you're amazing. We already know that you are the true undisputed world champion. Until next time, Ringsiders, this is your host, Boxing's Objective Observer, with Ringside Stories. Thanks for watching, and have a legendary day.